Are live in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, somewhere between San Francisco and Hawaii. I'm Kim McNicholas, co-host of The Heart of Innovation, joined by Dr. John Phillips, who's very envious, sitting in the middle of Ohio.
Yes.
Somewhere between his home and his cath lab.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, are you going to Hawaii? Was that
We are. Yeah, this was before my mom transitioned. This was her dream trip. And this is what my dad and I are doing together as a little father-daughter bonding. And we're on Princess Cruises. This is our second go round with this cruise. We did this cruise 2 years ago in honor of my mom. And we are doing it again to make it something that is every couple years. I think it's a really good trip, spending a lot of time with family. The only thing is that, as you know, my dad has heart disease. I have severe allergies. So the food, you can imagine with thousands of people here on the ship, they standardize food. But the good news is, and a great tip when you're on Princess Cruises, and why we like this cruise line is because they are really accommodating to diets. The thing is that the first couple days might be a little rocky as everyone's getting adjusted. And we are meeting with the food and beverage director thankfully today on day 3, so that we can get those diets squared away for his healthy diet, gluten-free, dairy-free, low sugar, low salt, and for me, much of the same. Oh, but add on no zucchini for me, as that's an allergy as well. You can tell we're probably some of the favorites on the cruise. No, they are so kind and helpful.
It seems like they're really accommodating. And speaking of Rocky, the fact that you are in the Pacific Ocean heading towards west, right? West towards Hawaii.
Heading west.
We might have some issues with your bandwidth, and we'll deal with that because we're live, and that's the beauty of being live. And we're going to have a fun show today. I think we're just going to kind of wing it, open it up to how traveling, right? What it takes to travel when you have heart disease or disease or dietary restrictions. I think that Douglas has been, from what I've been told, Douglas has been manning the Leg Saver hotline and maybe fielded a couple calls.
He's been doing a great job.
Because it's important that you enjoy your vacation with your father and unplug a little bit.
We are, but you know what? I really enjoy this. And it's interesting, the conversations we're having with so many different people. I swear, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I will tell you, you walk around the ship and probably at least 75 to 85% of people here must have PAD, some sort of vascular or cardiovascular issue. So thankfully, Biomedics, which has a pad testing system for that poor circulation in the legs, they donated a PadNet system. So I'm going to work with the events director here to hopefully hold a testing event, not to diagnose. We are just going to write down the numbers and educate people about PAD. You can imagine the thousands that are here. I mean, why not take a moment to educate them? And especially the captain was particularly interested in PAD and also cardiovascular health. And we had such an amazing discussion. He invited me to come up for a tour of where they steer the ship. All of you who are more seaworthy than I am.
Did he let you?
I'm hoping.
The wheel? Did you just spin the wheel?
I'm hoping we'll probably end up doing 360s in the middle of the Pacific if I'm up there, at the helm.
I mean, it's crazy, right? When they park those things. I mean, they basically parallel park that ship, and obviously there's propellers and propulsion systems and whatnot. They're pretty skilled folks that run those. How many people are on that cruise?
There are a couple thousand. I would say upwards of 2,500, I would imagine, on this particular cruise. They had some problems getting us on the ship, which I thought was really funny because they had trouble with the gangway. So here's a gangway in San Francisco. They know the ship is coming in, and they don't double check the gangway beforehand. So you had thousands of people waiting to get off, thousands of people waiting to get in. And then on top of that, we did have an emergency. That's what's really sad. You have a lot of people here, even as we were getting on the ship, someone fell. They had to call in the paramedic and just make sure she was okay. But the ship's staff is trained. Last night we were sitting at dinner. There was all hands on deck. There's an emergency on deck 7. There are a lot of older people that are on this trip, and that's why it's so important that everyone makes sure before they go on a trip like this. This is a 16-day cruise. You're in the middle of the ocean. And yes, they do have a morgue right here on the ship. You don't have access to advanced life and limb saving care here on the ship. You do have very basic care. Yes, they can bring in a helicopter. Yes, you do need travel insurance to make sure and prepare, especially if you do have cardiovascular or vascular issues. If you have any mobility issues, you do need to prepare. You need to make sure the ship knows ahead of time. You need a wheelchair. They're really accommodating. I mean, they had people that were behind the wheelchairs lined up. There were dozens of them. So the ship is incredibly accommodating.
That's interesting that you mentioned this because, clearly this show is just going to be us winging it and sidetracking and having tangential conversations. We've got 2 minutes before we go to break, but I just read an article in the Wall Street Journal about travel, and they call them, I think they're called like jetway Jesus cures. So people are using they're asking for a wheelchair to kind of board the plane.
Oh, I saw this.
But then in flight, they're cured of their mobility issue because they walk off the plane when you land. And it's actually causing an issue because planes are being delayed and folks are, I think, milking the system a little bit. And hopefully no one was milking it with you guys. But again, like to your point, when you are traveling and you have some limitations, whatever they are, I think as long as you alert the staff, and they're pretty accommodating and they're going to help you out, and they want you to have an enjoyable vacation just like everybody else.
Well, coming up next right here on the Heart of Innovation, I think I have the cure to that jetway Jesus issue that we are having, because once I share my mom's story of blood clots while travel, you will never get the wheelchair again if you can help it. So stay with us right here on KDOW in the Heart of Innovation. Don't go away.
How many procedures are you willing to go through? Is it worth going through that many, or would you rather just
That's funny. Was it worth it? Oh yeah, I have my leg, man.
Amputation should absolutely, positively, 100% never be a first-line treatment.
What an incredible operation, what an incredible lab you have here.
Without a doubt, we're underdiagnosing peripheral arterial disease. It has not gotten the attention that it should, because it is a killing disease, it is a disabling disease, and most importantly, it's a disease that we now have great treatments for.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
They were going to amputate it, and I needed to consult with my family. Did I want it off here or here? You're just shocked. It's scary. I don't even know how to explain it. You're 42 years old.
We're waiting till people are at the end of the spectrum and almost beyond hope. There is good care available here. Closed minds are what we have to get rid of.
We are live in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, somewhere between San Francisco and Hawaii. I'm on the Princess Cruise Lines, the Ruby, with my dad.
You are live.
I am live. But you're living vicariously through me. We're just going to go there. And it's beautiful. The first day of sunshine we've had. That's why I look a little bit more like a silhouette. But I had to, who wants to look at me when you have this beautiful ocean right behind you?
What's Dad doing?
My dad is actually going down. They have a military gathering downstairs.
Oh, cool.
And so he is meeting with some fellow veterans, which is exciting. And they're having their, I'm going to say it, they call it the fart and lie meeting. I don't know, and I don't understand that. You did hear me correctly. Yes. I had to ask them twice.
Will you guys be going to Pearl Harbor?
Not this time. My dad, when he was doing service, so we've been to Pearl Harbor quite a few times, and it's something we'll definitely see. But no, we're doing a hop on PAD Associations Network. Last year, we ended up my dad and I attending her vascular appointments with her on the last trip to Hawaii. I'm always working, right? But this year we're going to visit her for just a little bit, and we're going to do a hop on, hop off. bus in Oahu.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So you kind of
But
you had a tease. You had a little bit of tease before we
yeah,
went to break
yeah.
about your mom with blood clots, and that'll motivate any and everyone on that ship to be cured of their jetway Jesus issue.
And I do. And once I think that we do have, in a sense, the jetway Jesus issue here on the boat. And I understand it, that it's a long time. These lines can be really long. You're waiting and waiting, and it's hard to stand, and there's no place to sit. And then someone wants your place in line if no one can hold it for you. So you could go sit, whatever. I get it. But you got to walk. You got to move. You got to, even standing there in place, there are exercises that you can do up in your tippy toes. You can march in place. Who cares what people think? You got to do it, but you got to stay on your feet as long as you can. And Dr. John will attest to this. Blood clots are way too prevalent in travel. And for my mom, she ended up having mobility issues. She had some lower back issues, but if only we had planned accordingly and we had planned more time to make our way and stop on our way to wherever the plane was, where they were boarding. We wouldn't have had the problem, I don't think, that we ended up having, where my mom, we took the wheelchair so we could get to the front of the line, we could get there faster, we could board faster, everything else. And we got to Pennsylvania, and in the middle of the night, she ended up with blood clots, and I had to bring her back to life. One of the hardest moments ever for me, very telling. And the doctor said, from here on out, I tell all my patients, if you can walk, walk. You just need more time, but take the time and walk. It's really that serious. Your life, your limb could be on the line.
So that's a really good point. And I think obviously what we try to do here is help educate folks. So when you are traveling, we do recommend, if possible, for every hour you're sitting, whether it's in the car, on a bus, plane, cruise, that you get up and try to walk around for about 5 minutes or so. And if you can't do that, then we recommend doing like calf pump raises, so it's like you're kind of flexing your foot up and down. Because you got it. What happens is the blood becomes stagnant in the veins, and the way the blood gets from the feet back to the heart is not through a pumping system, that the arterial blood goes, because the arterial blood goes from the heart to the organs. Now you got the blood going back from the organs to the heart, and that's a volume. So you have to move it with muscles. And so stay active, and because you can prevent these DVTs or pulmonary emboli. Did your mom have a pulmonary emboli? Is that what happened?
She did. And they said, you got to hydrate, move. And I think that that's the best advice. And even here on the cruise, people get on the cruise and then they sit and they drink and they sit. And they eat.
And they're outside,
thankfully,
right?
Right, exactly. Thankfully, the gym has been pretty full. I've been very impressed with the number of people in the gym. But we're of course, in the first few days, I did have a few encounters with a couple people in the elevator that were saying, yeah, we're on our way to the gym. Didn't realize how much we were eating. And so I'm definitely going to go work a few things off. Another tip is when you come in, tell them no salt or low salt diet. No matter what, because in the first few days, I've already talked to some friends of ours that were on the cruise. They're swelling up like a balloon, already not fitting into their outfits, and it's all because of swelling due to too much salt. So you got to understand they use a lot of salt.
Can I add just a little bit some data behind the travel time and the risk? So a New England Journal of Medicine review, so basically flights lasting more than 4 hours have an increased risk. The risk goes up by about 18% for each additional 2 hours of travel. Really the once you get over 6 hours, that's when the risk kind of creeps up a little more so. So anything over 6 hours, but again, 4 hours, move around. And heck, so a lot of times patients will ask me, because if they've had a blood clot and we've taken them off blood thinners, sometimes they'll ask for some low dose blood thinner, and we'll give it to them just prophylactically for the, however long they're traveling or whatnot. So just make sure you reach out to your primary care provider.
Can I share a little bit here also?
Sure, please.
It's like driving.
Yes. Hello, Douglas.
Hello, Douglas.
It's like driving. So my brother is 5 hours from me. And how many of us drive to our doctors that are 2 or 3 or 4 hours away? I know it takes me about 9 hours to get there, but I know where my
Wow.
stops are so I can get out and I don't
Good for
try
you.
and push it. So we have to adjust and be able to plan our trips ahead so that we know we're not trying to push it. So that is a good tip for driving also, is being able to stop when your body tells you to stop and get out and walk around and rest for those few minutes. Then you can get back in, because your leg is more important than getting there on time sometimes and adjusting that time schedule for driving.
Brilliant. And
Brilliant.
what about compression socks? I know that just completely added so much and just reaffirms that you got to just plan for the time.
Yeah.
Take the time, because it is your leg, it is your life.
The compression stocks help too. Sometimes we've got about a minute left, and we can continue this in the next segment, but they're measured in millimeters of mercury, so that's the amount of compression. So typically, folks that have symptomatic varicose veins, we recommend 20 to 30 millimeters of mercury, but you can do 10 to 20, and those will certainly help you. Because again, you're mimicking the muscle squeezing the vein to open up the valves to then pump the blood north to the heart.
Are compression socks contraindicated, or is there a certain level of compression that is safe for someone with PAD, but maybe not necessarily CLI? Or maybe not.
Right. Yep. Excellent question. There's a lot of, we call mixed disease, mixed vascular disease, so venous insufficiency as well as peripheral arterial disease. Sometimes I will, if someone has a venous ulcer, which is very different than an arterial ulcer, but they also have PAD, but may not be that clinically significant. If their ABIs or the cuff pressure testing is below a certain threshold, that precludes their ability to have compression, which ultimately helps treat the venous issue. So we'll fix the arterial issue to get their ABI better, so then they can have compression. So it's a little bit of a dance and nuancing, but that's why we do what we do, and that's why folks see specialists.
Well, it's like the yoga toes. So how many of us hit cruise control? If I put cruise control on, I can take my shoes off and do my yoga toes while I'm still driving. I can still do those things while I'm driving.
Look at you.
So,
do you know what yoga toes are, Dr. John?
I think we did. We talked about that, right? We had yes, we did. We did talk about that. Anything you're doing to increase that circulation, getting the venous blood back to the heart through the calf pump system, the thighs, etc., is good for you.
Yep. Spread your toes, bring them in. Spread your toes, bring them in. Spread your toes, bring them in. Even Douglas can do it with his socks on. He puts a towel on the floor and he picks up the towel with his toes and he drops it, picks up the towels with his toes, drops it. Foot alphabet, also the calf pumps, calf raises, and what we call the PAD 100, which is almost as if you're an octopus and you're just this flow. You're like pushing the accelerator button, bringing it back, pushing the accelerator button, bringing it back. But it's a little bit more a flow with spreading your toes and kind of bringing them in. And coming up next right here on KDOW, we will have more with Dr. John Phillips and the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away.
Your type of condition is called critical limb ischemia. It's the most advanced form of PAD or peripheral arterial disease.
Every 4 minutes, there is an amputation in this country due to PAD and diabetes. We also know that 85% of these amputations are preventable with early intervention.
It's a flip of the coin. Patient prognosis is tied to whether or not they are referred to a true expert in the management of peripheral arterial disease.
Do you know if your physician is an experienced CLI operator?
When you're in the hospital dealing with doctors and stuff, you figure they know what they're talking about.
The skill level varies doctor from doctor and hospital to hospital.
Patients with limb threat are in constant fear. The depression that someone experiences after they lose a limb is equivalent to those of losing their spouse of 40 years.
I was stuck in a wheelchair close to 2 years and my husband had to quit work.
I didn't know what to do at this point because we had nothing but infections and hospital stays and infections and hospital stays.
And they took one toe, another toe, and then it was another toe, and then half his foot before he was even diagnosed with PAD.
And all I heard was, "What are we doing here? Just cut it off." And I
pulled the curtain back like, are you kidding me?
Do you really want to go through all that?
That's crazy. That's insane. The protocol is to send them to amputation. Always, always, always get multiple opinions.
We do have options.
We need to listen more to our patients.
If you're going to chop off their leg anyway, why not just let someone else try?
This is the progression. First comes the wounds, and then comes an amputation. And I wasn't going to accept that.
So that's what it's like to try to save a leg.
Dr. John Phillips' spectacular vascular moment of inspiration.
So we're 5 days from Christmas, and I've been listening to, I don't know about you, Kim, but I've been listening to Christmas carols for the past we're pretty much the first week of November. I love it. Anyway, one of my favorite Christmas songs is Happy Christmas, War's Over by John Lennon. Again, I think it's, I don't know, there's just something about the lyrics, and he's such a poet about it. And so I was like, you know what, let me find a quote from John Lennon. And this is, I think, this parlays into what I'd like to share with my Christmas miracle story. And I mean, we've all heard something along this derivation, but John Lennon is quoted as saying, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." So I'll let you stew on that, Kim, a little bit if you'd like, and then I can go into a very inspirational story that happened to a patient that I met this past Sunday when I was on call.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Cool. Because life does happen when you're busy making other plans. And I firmly believe, and I think you do as well, that the good Lord has a plan for all of us. And this particular gentleman that I ended up meeting on Sunday, the story goes, he was shoveling snow. So it was in the low 20s, the teens-ish in Columbus. It was pretty cold, and we had some snow a couple days before. So he was 68, and he was shoveling snow and started getting chest pain. So that is, I mean, we could talk about this as well. The cold, when it's cold out, and you're shoveling, you're kind of bearing down. So when it's cold, your arteries kind of constrict, or they clamp down a little bit. So that could reduce blood flow. And then you're lifting something heavy, so you're kind of bearing down, and that can create chest pain. And it's not, I mean, there is an uptick, it's proven, there's an uptick in heart attacks in folks that are shoveling snow. So this
You bring up a really important point.
Sure.
Actually, because we get this question a lot. We have just recently, and Douglas can attest to this as well, in our network, padsupportgroup.org, we have a lot of people saying, hey, my PAD, my poor circulation in the legs, it feels like it's getting worse over the course of winter because of the cold weather. And we've been offering tips to, with heated insoles and, things for their hands and wool socks and things like that to help. But you're actually stating the important point that cold weather does have an impact, a huge impact.
Yep, it certainly does. So this gentleman starts having chest discomfort. He actually takes care of his wife. His wife had, I believe, a benign tumor that was in her spinal cord that was removed, but they damaged the nerves going to her legs. So she has a really hard time walking. She has to walk with a walker. And I think what happened was he was making her breakfast after he wasn't feeling well. And she noticed he didn't look good, so they called the squad. The squad shows up, and he says, I think I'm going to pass out. And basically, they hook him up, check his heart rhythm, and he's in what's called ventricular fibrillation. So prior to this, he was having chest pain. They got an ECG. It had the signs of a heart attack. So what happens is we're able to transmit that ECG to our hospital, and then that triggers what we call a STEMI, or a heart attack alert. And so I get the message because I'm on call. The hospital gets the message, and now they're getting ready to bring the patient to the hospital, but he starts arresting. So they basically are doing limited CPR and shocking him to try to kind of save his life, because this rhythm Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so
Wow.
it's interesting because I had this happened around 11 o'clock. And sorry if this story is convoluted, but bear with me, hang with me here. So
No,
I-
11 o'clock in the 11 o'clock in the morning.
11 o'clock in the morning. So I was done with my duties. I actually had to treat someone that had a heart attack. So we got that taken care of. I had drove home already, and I realized that I had left my computer at my office in the hospital. So I literally just turned back around. And as I'm driving back to the hospital, this alert comes through, and I see the ECG, and I think, okay, this is probably a heart attack. But usually they'll call, the emergency room will call you and say, hey, we've got this patient. Well, they didn't call me, and I'm still driving in, and then I see, well, the patient's arresting and yada, yada, yada. And sometimes what happens there is we'll kind of pause and wait till they can get a rhythm back, a viable heart rhythm back before we consider taking the patient to the catheterization lab. Because oftentimes if they can't get a rhythm back, then unfortunately this is a lethal event. But because I happened to be driving back to the hospital and I was actually already at the hospital, I went down to the emergency room bay just to kind of see what was going on. And if I hadn't forgotten my computer, I'd probably still be at home thinking, well, get a rhythm back before I'm going to attempt to fix something. But since I was there, and now they have this device on the gentleman, it's called the Lucas device. So basically it does CPR. It's an automated mechanical CPR device. And so it's pumping the chest, chest compressions, but through a machine. And now they have him on a breathing machine. And I'll never forget looking at this person thinking, he's dead. Okay, this person is dead. But we do have the opportunity to put the patient on what's called ECMO, where we're basically doing bypass for the body. So we put a tube in an artery and a tube in a vein, and we take the blood out of the vein and the heart.
It's artificial lung, right?
It's artificial.
It's an artificial
heart.
lung.
Yeah, you're basically putting.
It's an artificial heart too.
And lungs, right? So you're oxygenating the patient. You've taken the heart offline. So you're oxygenating the blood outside the body, dumping it back in, and so I said, well, I guess we could try this. I don't know if it's going to work. Bottom line is we do all this stuff, and the gentleman has a heart attack. We open up the blockages. We get him through this, and so the mortality rate here is probably 65%, if not 70%. Now, he was essentially dead when I saw him. I just got a picture, and the patient has since come off the heart pump machine. He's come off of all the devices that he needed. He came off of all the medicine that he needed. He yesterday was eating eggs and his lunch in his room. I just got a picture today from the doctor that's helped out, and it takes a true village to take care of these folks. I mean, yes, we put him on the machine and I opened his arteries, but there's heart failure doctors, there's a cardiothoracic surgeon that helps, there's the intensive care that helps. This gentleman is going to walk out of our hospital, okay, probably in 10 days after this event. And I said to him, well, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm like, when you come and see me in the office, I'm going to tell you the true story. I'm going to tell him that story because it's a little bit of serendipity, because honestly, I don't know. If I hadn't been in the hospital, I'm not sure we would have pushed for putting him on that life support machine, knowing that it was so grave. But he's alive. And I told him, I said, God has a plan for you that's not over yet. So you better make sure you pay this forward and realize that plan. And we're kind of calling it the Christmas miracle at Riverside, because it truly is a Christmas miracle. He was ultimately, this gentleman was shocked, defibrillated over 40 times, which is unheard of. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. I think we need a moment to digest this. So let's go to break and come back. Stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation. What a miracle this is. You're such a blessing, Dr. John. Divine intervention. Don't go away. Stay right here on KDOW.
Do your legs hurt when you walk? Do you feel cramping or numbness that makes you stop and rest? This could be more than just getting older. It could be peripheral artery disease, also called PAD. PAD happens when arteries in your legs become clogged, limiting blood flow. And when blood can't flow, your health is at risk. PAD affects millions worldwide. If you have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or if you smoke or have a history of smoking, you are at higher risk. Symptoms may include leg pain when walking, slow healing wounds, or numbness in your feet. Some people don't even notice symptoms at all until it's too late. PAD is serious. It can lead to amputation, heart attack, and stroke. But the good news, PAD can be treated if caught early. Talk to your doctor. Ask about a simple PAD screening test. Protect your legs. Protect your life. Every step matters. Walk strong. Live long. Get screened for PAD now. For more information, go to padhelp.org or call the Leg Saver hotline at 1-833-PAD-LEGS.
The Christmas miracles we only thought were pure Hollywood, really unveiling, themselves right here on the Heart of Innovation. And I think it's what the Heart of Innovation is all about. It's about divine intervention. It's about those miracles, those moments where everything just comes together. And Dr. Phillips, I mean, you can't help but believe in Christmas magic in a moment like this, because I'm curious, it's very uncharacteristic of you to have forgotten your computer. You are a very organized man. You're very well put together. And I can't imagine that you would have literally willy-nilly forgotten your computer. So I'm curious, bring us back to that moment. I would imagine that your day starts like mine, which is for me. And, for those of you who are not spiritual, I am spiritual now. If you know my story of getting, being drawn to the Global PAD Association, every morning I actually say, please God, bring me to where I need to be today, and bring me those who need my help, who I can help. And please open my heart and open my mind and open my energy and my space for those people who I can save. And I could imagine that that's how you begin your day as well.
Well, the thing about what we do is you never know what's going to happen. You never
right.
know. You can kind of assume some things, and in general, what we do is for the most part, I mean, we're plumbers, but you don't know what, who's going to walk through that door, quote, what is the cat going to drag in, end quote. And I'm interested to hear people's perspective on this, and yours as well, Kim, because I've been struggling with this a little bit, because number one, if I hadn't left my computer, I don't know that I would have made it in time to help this person, because I just happened to be there, and I was the only person there that could make the decision to even attempt to salvage, to try to put this patient on. It's called ECMO, and try to save his life. But I just remember watching the machine pump, the machine pumping on him, the lifeless body. He's blue and white, and the ER doc says, "There's nothing more I can do," and I was like, okay. I struggle with the fact that I get to make this decision. This is a life or death decision. I could have said, no, we're not going to do this, and that was the end of it. But something told me to try, and we tried, and we won.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
I have to jump in here. I have to. Dr. Phillips and Kim, y'all realize the impact y'all both have in what y'all do? Because Kim's on vacation and she's here with us. So there's a point, I believe, God puts people in places that He needs them to be. And I believe wholeheartedly both of you are where you are today to do what you do. Because think about what you go through and how often can we say thank you for what you do for us, and the lives you save and the impact that you have on so many lives that I can't understand how hard it would be to do what you do sometimes and make that decision knowing that and the impact that you have. And I think God knew He put you in the place you were at that time, Dr. Phillips, for that reason. And look at what He does with Kim. She's on vacation in the middle of the Pacific, going to Hawaii, and she's still working. So it's like you belong where you belong, and we are so grateful and blessed to have you a part of us.
Thanks, Douglas.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you, Douglas.
yeah, I mean, I wanted to share the story, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but it's something that it really has thrown me for a little bit of a loop, honestly, because
Yeah.
I don't understand why it happened, and I think that just speaks to God has a plan for all of us, and you just kind of have faith. You have to have faith. You have to have faith, and Christmas is the season of having faith, and you have to have faith in that plan and just take that next step up the staircase, even though you can't see the stairs. And I don't know, it's weird. Very
It's
weird.
interesting. I mean, you could look at it, I mean, it's empowering, but it's also with also your personality, because you're the type, you always want to do more, you always want to do better, right? So you can look at it as it's empowering. Look at what I can do, but it's also a little scary, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's wow, I have this power. I mean, I could have easily walked away from this guy. What was it about this guy that I was able to save? My mom was on one of those artificial machines, and I remember walking in, and you have me just thinking right now, well, how is it that in my mom's case, they didn't know it was a dissected aneurysm? They didn't know what it was. What was it about that moment that you knew that you could go in and you could do something? Because in my mom's situation, there was no turning back from hers. And if you would have made that decision in her case to do something, that wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, you don't know, and I don't know. It takes me a while to process it, but again, I was getting my hair cut this morning, and my friend who's the intensivist, and it takes a lot of people to get somebody through what this gentleman got through. And when I saw the picture of him, he's on just a little nasal cannula. Again, he'll be walking around. He'll hopefully be discharged early next week before Christmas. It truly is a Christmas miracle, and it starts with the EMS. It starts with the ER physician. It starts with us. It starts with everybody. So it's a great story, and I think it helps make the season a little bit brighter for some of us, or at least me, at least.
It does. And, I attended the CLI Fighter Cliff Conference with Dr. Lake Raja in El Paso, Texas, just a couple weeks ago. And they had a panel of every person in their circle of care that saved a particular patient. And I think that this would be a really great example that if we could somehow facilitate a conversation and get every single touch point that this gentleman had, get the person, the 911 operator, get the wife, get the 911 operator, get the EMS, get someone from your emergency room, get you, and get the patient to all line up and start telling the story from start to finish as they did with this one patient. I think that would be incredibly powerful. This is one of those cases that, I hope and pray that he is taking a moment to reflect on his life and realizing that there is a purpose that he has in being here. And it could be even alongside you, Dr. Phillips, in helping to spread awareness and helping to save other lives and other limbs in your community.
We will definitely be able to do that. And then just real quickly, he was cooking breakfast for his wife. He remembered, despite the fact that he's about a minute away from arresting, he remembered that he had to turn the stove off because he didn't want the house to burn down because she couldn't get to. I think that's how it went. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a mind blow for me, frankly. It's crazy.
I love that. And, I want to end this segment early because there's nowhere to go with this conversation except to say, again, that this is a really powerful moment, a really great reminder of these are humans. These doctors are humans. Everyone in these hospitals, they're humans. They're making human decisions. And in that moment where you're looking at this gentleman, there must have been a grander connection between you two, with subconsciously him saying, I need to be here. You need to do something. Someone, somewhere, something provided that opportunity for this gentleman to live. And we're so thankful it was you. You forgot your computer and you were there to provide this Christmas miracle for this gentleman. And we're toasting you, Dr. Phillips. So stay with us and your entire team. And coming up, in these situations, you have to have a little humor, and we're going to bring a little humor to this wonderful Christmas story with this great team over at Riverside and the Cath Lab team there. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Stay tuned for a little Christmas humor. Don't go away.
When your sugar runs high, it's more than a sign. Diabetes creeping in, it's a dangerous line. Pre-diabetes too, don't think it's too light. It can lead to PAT, so start the fight. Sugar's sweet, but the cost is real. High blood sugar makes your arteries feel clogged. Slow flow, it's a ticking time bomb. Catch it early, stay strong, and keep your legs on. Sugar's not so sweet when your leg is in pain. Not controlling sugar is where peripheral artery disease sets in. Got sugar? Get checked. Don't wait too late. Save your legs, save your life. Take control of your fate. Leg pain, cold feet, neuropathy too. These are signs diabetes caught you. High sugar's the link where circulation and pain left untreated. Your leg might end in flame.
Thanks for joining us. Kim is live on the sea at the Pacific Ocean, careening towards Hawaii, and I'm sitting here in my office in Columbus, Ohio, waiting to make Christmas cookies when the show's over. During the break, Marie had asked me how the intervention went and what we ended up doing, and so ultimately, once we're able to get the patient on what's called ECMO or that bypass, then things kind of settle down and we can work on the heart. And he had some blockages and we opened the blockages and put some stents in. And then really it's a waiting game that you kind of play because again, when you're doing CPR with this device for probably, it was probably 25 minutes, you never know, is the patient going to have neurologic damage? Are they going to have anoxic brain injury or lack of blood flow to the brain? Are they going to have problems with their kidneys? I mean, there are so many. The way I liken it to is looking at a block of Swiss cheese. And for someone to survive, they basically have to have all those holes in the Swiss cheese line up so they can walk from the front of the block through the piece of cheese itself towards the end. And it looks like all his holes lined up because it takes a lot to get somebody through this, which is why, unfortunately, the mortality rate is so high. But by the grace of God and an excellent team, a team better than me, I think we got the patient through it.
So do you learn that in school, or is that something that just comes from experience and the years that you have? Is that just experience, or is that can that be taught to doctors?
The procedure itself, or just the
the whole thinking process that you went through from start to end.
Yeah, I mean, the process has evolved, and there are. I mean, one of our heart failure physicians told me that it's really less than 1% of hospitals. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a very few hospitals kind of attempt to do what we did, just because it takes so many resources. And again, my hat off to the team at Riverside, because it is truly a village. But we learn it. It evolves, and I wasn't trained to do this, but we've taken it on at our health system. But what you do, and I think Marie had put this in the chat, you kind of start to trust your gut or your spidey sense. And again, my gut, maybe it's God, I think it is, was telling me to try this. So that's kind of that's how I approached it.
And you have such an amazing team, and through these situations, you do need a little bit of humor. And we do have a clip. Christy, our producer, go ahead and play the 12th day of Christmas from Riverside.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my cath lab gave to me
bifurcating lesions.
11 apologies before lino, 10 IVAS catheters, 9 diagnostic heart caths, 8 complex PCIs, 7 days of rounding, 6 inpatient TAVRs, 5 cold legs, ablators 3, canceled cases 2, antegrade legs, and an ECMO catastrophe.
Do you mind if I scroll?
Except in your case, catastrophe with ECMO, it was a miracle.
It was
so
a
that's
miracle.
why I wanted to play that.
Thank you so much. And then the 12th day was one of our senior partners, Dr. Canada, who's got the heart of talk about someone who's dedicated. But he said there was bifurcating lesions. He talked so quietly you can barely hear him.
Fantastic. Happy holidays, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Phillips, for all you do to provide
Thank you.
Christmas
Thank you, Kim,
miracles
as well.
for so many.
Yes, we all chip in.